I never got it, why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance, no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
Good morning, Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. Thanks for joining us. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here. I've had my first pot of coffee, read the news, spoke to my daughter, and getting on down the road with this stuff. If you're a subscriber, that's great. Welcome back. And if you are on the borderline, please do subscribe and hit that thumbs up. I wonder why I'm sort of sideways here. Well, either way. Okay, so we're talking about now in this third video on purchasing property, land, condos, houses. You've already figured out where you want to buy the land. You've already found the land. You've already found out whether there's a clean title, and you've hired a expert, experienced real estate attorney. Okay, what's next? Oh, let's go back to that piece of land. Now we need to start looking at things that we take for granted that you should never take for granted here. And we rely on the false sense of security that the attorney is going to cover these items. And unless you've got an agreement that says they're going to cover these items, well, they're not. They may assume that you're taking care of that. So let's just go through this. And keep in mind, I'm saying, or we're saying, that you have to physically look at the property yourself and do these things. You can hire the attorney to do these things, but now you're relying on your communication with them and their communication with you being clear and explicit. And that is hard to find here in the Philippines. Finally, oftentimes your attorney is not going to be located anywhere near that property. And so you're either going to pay a very hefty fee for the attorney to physically go out there, or you're going to pay for the attorney to hire somebody to go out there and take a look at these items. Finally, I should say, Arlen and I are not attorneys, and we're not offering legal advice. We're just going through what we went through and something that you should consider. The land. If I had to do it again, I would have done it much differently. However, you're going to have to bear in mind that clear, clean, titled land is hard to come by. And it demands a premium price. Filipinos are not stupid. They realize that you might already know that getting a piece of land retitled in your name from hereditary or generational land can take years, if not never. So clear, clean titled land is not cheap. Now, obviously, it's cheaper in some places than in others, but it's not cheap. That being said, let's take a look at that piece of land and some things that you need to consider. First off, drainage. The Philippines is in the tropics. It gets a lot of rain, and when it gets rain, it's a lot. Is the water going to drain, or is your land somebody else's drainage field? Who else is utilizing your land? And when I say that, What I mean is, are there electric lines running across the, 15 feet above the ground in your property? Is there internet cable lines running across? I mean, this is not uncommon where people will string lines that, can be 50, 60 feet long across other people's property. Trash. Is it full of debris, or has all the debris been removed off of it? Where's that drainage field going to exit? How do these things impact the footprint of the home that you want to build? Let's go one step further, because now we're going into the mistakes that Arlene and I made. Arlene and I wanted titled land close to her father and family. And the options for titled land were very limited for us. And let me rephrase that. Titled land that actually had a deed at the Register of Deeds. All right. The property that we chose had a 3/4 finished home on it. And I made a big mistake thinking, you know what? We can knock down a few walls. We can put up a few more walls. We can extend this. We can rebuild this. All right. You need to look if that is what you're doing. I would caution you on 3 big items. The first one is the foundation. If that foundation isn't at least 4-inch thick concrete with rebar, it's worthless. Item number 2, where's the septic tank? The Filipinos have a problem with that. It's a secondary thought for them often. And it's not uncommon for the septic tank to be under the foundation. And so when it's time to pump that septic tank out, well, guess what? You do a in-toilet pump out. It's kind of nasty. Hope they do a good job. All right. The third and most important aspect is, what is that house constructed of? We already told you, and you should already know because you've been to the Philippines or you're looking at the Philippines. All right, it's a almost subtropical destination. If the roofing on that house, and if the cabinetry in that house, and if doors in that house are made from coca lumber, it's worthless. You may as well get rid of it. All right. And I would also caution, although Gemalian wood, it's a type of tree here, Gemalia, isn't good, solid construction wood either. Now, here in the Philippines, framing is pretty much non-existent. They build with hollow block walls, center block walls. And then if you want to do a good job, you put up what's called steel furring, all right, which is, sort of like you have a shell of hollow block, and then you're going to have a support system of metal. And that's what you're going to hang your drywall on if you use drywall. And we did, and we would. And I will tell you right now, even here, if once you start to get out into the province, finding drywall, experienced drywall people, okay? And they have different names for drywall here. There's different types. Is hard to come by. But termites, your home or future home or the structure existing on that property can be infested with termites, especially if the truss work for the roofing, which is so common, is made of cocoa wood, because coconut wood is soft and yummy for termites. Cabinetry is the same way. One other item that you probably should consider is taking a hard look at any wiring that might be there. Don't look in just one place, look in several. Okay? If you've ever built a home or you've ever done any electrical work, you know the difference between stranded and solid. So, solid wiring is a solid piece of copper. Okay? Stranded are thin copper strips that are twisted together to create something the same diameter of a solid piece. If your home is wired with stranded wiring, it's worthless. Well, it's not worthless. It's normal, actually, because stranded wire is a lot cheaper. However, the load that it puts on and the amount of resistance that it offers is increased, which makes your electrical consumption go up, number one. And then number two, it can be a pretty big fire hazard. If we had it to do again, we would have just ripped the existing home that we purchased down. It was 3/4 finished. People were living in it. And by Filipino standards, it was above average. All right. For our area. And we would have ripped it down. I would have been far better off building from scratch. And that would bring us up to the next question or the next point, and that would be, by now you should have an idea as to what you're going to build. Okay? And then that will give you an idea as to the footprint. How does that footprint fit on that piece of property? If you're buying a big enough piece of property, not a problem. But think about drainage. How are you going to affect that? All right. Look at that septic system. And another point about septic systems. In the Philippines, for some places in the Philippines, it's going to be an issue of it's a hole in the ground that they put in. Then you can go to the hardware stores and you can see septic tanks, and they will build septic tanks as well. So prefabricated or concrete builds. A large majority, until you get into high-end developments or higher-end developments, those septic tanks are 2 chambers. So you've got the first chamber, you've got the second chamber, and then a drain field. You need to know how those exist. And you need to know how you're going to access it, like I said. Otherwise, you're going to have to do toilet pump outs. And I would then ask, when's the last time it was pumped out? Those are simple things. So paying attention to that land is important. Hey, look, we really appreciate your time. We hope you like this video. We hope it helps you out. We're trying to keep them short and to the point so that they're not so boring. Please consider subscribing and hit that thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. Have a great day.